Well, welcome to AlphaJo, where we're going to discuss the Josekis that AlphaGo Zero has been familiarizing everyone with. Some of them are old standbys, and many of them are things that humans knew about but didn't think were as good as AlphaGo thinks they are, and one is brand new. So the reason we wanted to do this series of videos is not because we are awesome, but because AlphaGo is awesome. And AlphaGo, while we might not, nobody knows what AlphaGo is thinking. Nobody can fully understand AlphaGo, even top professionals. So therefore, it makes us amateurs on par with professionals in that light, right?
Yeah. In some strange way.
In some strange way. So what we've decided to do is give it our best at kind of familiarizing everyone with the 8 or so Josekis that AlphaGo uses, with the idea of, even if we don't fully understand them, these are the Josekis that the strongest player, potentially in the universe, uses to play this game. And so we should be studying these Joseki. So to kind of just compile all the Joseki that AlphaGo thinks are important into one video series. So here we are, AlphaJo. These are the 4 most interesting Josekis that AlphaGo Zero. Oh yeah, and we want to talk about that. There's been many iterations of AlphaGo.
Right.
This is AlphaGo Zero. This is the end result, basically, of all of DeepMind and their work with Google. Coming up with finally an AlphaGo that has 0 human data. So
the latest as of October 2017.
Right. Yeah. These particular Josekis have stabilized into the system, so it appears that AlphaGo is not going to be ditching these Joseki.
They seem to be fairly permanent.
They seem to be stabilized in the algorithm. So let's clear the board, and we'll start with our first Joseki. Right. Okay, so we are going to be posting this series of videos about the Joseki that AlphaGo uses, probably previous to a new series that we're going to be releasing about human Joseki.
Right.
And our take, our kyu-level take on some of the most basic Josekis, and it's done in kind of a flowchart kind of pattern. This is going to be coming out a little earlier just because of how important AlphaGo is and how it's been influencing the Go scene. So what we've been doing in the other series that we're currently filming is we're starting off with a whole board situation, parallel Joseki, because it seems to be most common. So we're going to stick with that in this series as well. Okay. So given that black has 2 stones in the corner on this side and white has 2 stones in the corner on this side, we're going to continue our Joseki examples from this position.
Right.
When black approaches, white frequently will back off in the standard, everybody knows that kind of way. The one difference that AlphaGo frequently does is, compared to human players, is AlphaGo will almost actually never makes this move, and in this position almost never jumps into the 3-3.
Which are 2 things that are super common.
Super common. AlphaGo will sometimes extend off to the side, but more frequently than not, he'll just leave this stone, and then will later in the game play the attachment.
Right.
So the attachment here is a way to settle the stones quickly.
Right. Now, all of the AlphaGo is playing black, but because AlphaGo plays itself, AlphaGo is also playing white. So we're going to look at what AlphaGo does as black, but then how AlphaGo responds as well. So AlphaGo does what is very understandable, I think, to a human player. From this attachment, attaches on the side that protects the corner and aligns with the stones he's already had. So it's pretty straightforward there.
Right. Puts a lot of pressure on black stone. Instead of just descending or connecting, which would be slow, black plays another hane, and this is actually a frequent occurrence in professional games. When an attachment is made, the intention here is not to save particularly this stone. It's to stay as close to this stone as possible. So continuing with that theory, then the hane is consistent with the reason that black stone is played.
Right. So black here with this move, he threatens to either Atari from either direction to come around and take the corner. You might think that white would want to do something to protect that cut, but instead what white's going to do here is preemptively Atari black. Now, we see that if black were to try to make an Atari of his own, it wouldn't have any power, because if he doesn't do something to protect this stone, it'll just get captured, and this and that will get separated. And, these stones, even if they get one little Atari, they're not going to have enough room to do anything on that side. So this is an effective and efficient way of answering what black is threatening to do.
Yeah. Obviously, black has pretty much one move, and he has to connect. If he does this, it turns into a really weak shape because white will capture, and then if black tries to connect underneath, it's just
too much cutting point.
Even if it is a ko, it's a ko that's not worth much.
Yeah, there are no ko threats in the opening.
Yeah,
right. So the normal thing I think here we talked about would be to come under, but AlphaGo does not do that. The standard Joseki, he comes over the top to connect.
Yeah.
And why do you think that is?
Well, I think that when human players have done this is the move that is the best response. Mm-hmm. And I think that this becomes a disadvantageous fight for white, because now he's concerned. These two stones can be treated kind of lightly.
Right, but these two not so much.
Not so much.
So there's the disadvantage?
Yeah, I think it just becomes a fight that it's not it's not great for white.
Right. So white goes ahead and protects.
And black has to protect the push.
Right. So now, because we talked about black coming around the corner, he couldn't do it before because this stone was in danger, but now that threat to come around is real, so white will protect against that just with a simple descent.
Notice that he's still not strong enough to make this move.
Yeah, because that does this and does that, and it's no good.
Too good for black, so he makes the descent. And kind of stabilizes this group at this point.
Right.
So, while it doesn't look like black has a lot of territory on the side, he is basically out and can think about making eye space. White is pretty much settled. And interestingly, what black does at this point is, instead of completely settling black's group, he plays him a shoulder hit, which, if you've been following AlphaGo at all, you know that AlphaGo is extremely fond of shoulder hits. And the reason for this is because, obviously, you've got basically a living group here.
If you're going to have a settled shade, let's close it in. Let's try to limit it
as much as possible.
Now, what's interesting then, in turn, for white, instead of trying to push on that or get out or whatever, white does the same thing over here.
Right.
Okay, so if white can't get out this way, white can close black in this way and get a sort of an equivalent result there.
Now, effectively, we're going to stop talking about the Joseki at this point, because it turns into a pitched battle in almost all the games that this Joseki is played. But really, this is the framework for those ensuing fights. Mm-hmm. If black ignores this move, white can come on top, and black will barely live on the side on the second and first line, giving white a lot of potential to attack this stone here.
Right. So it seems like in the games you've seen, black does typically continue to follow up.
Black
here.
Always responds to that move, and he does so in a way that we'll play it out in a rapid succession. If you want to see more details on this, go to game 20 of the AlphaGo Zero versus AlphaGo Zero 40 block session. It's all free online. You can check it out. We'll do our best to play it as we remember it.
And we'll try to put a link to it too.
Yeah. But black follows up with this move.
And then white goes ahead and tries to keep him hemmed in.
Allows to put more pressure on this stone.
Right.
Cuts.
So he cuts.
Black plays that move.
I think he's got to go this way, right?
Yep. Actually, I'm sorry. Back that up. First,
that's right. Yeah. Okay, so he has to do this.
Does this first, because it's just a free forcing move.
Right.
Then black plays that.
Got to connect.
Black plays underneath. And because this is a connected shape, black or white can hane. Mm-hmm. Before black responds to this, Black pushes once because this is a forcing move.
If white doesn't respond, black gets this move, which Atari's that. Then black gets to keep pushing down, and it's too big.
And I think, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think that capturing race, as black pushes and squeezes this white shape here, black wins that race compared to this race here.
Yeah.
So I think that he has to respond to that.
So this is a forcing move. So he doesn't have to do this first. He gets this forcing move. So white protects both of these cuts now and strengthens that stone.
After that, black has to protect this.
Now, I believe white goes here because there's a problem here with the cut now.
Which turns into
a bad ladder for white, so he puts a ladder breaker.
Which is also a forcing move because this stone...
Now that's in problem. So he's going to react. Now, I think was it protecting this cut or it was this way first?
That way first.
It was this way first, so now... No, I thought it was this and then that.
No, I think...
No? Okay.
Oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah, I think it's this, so now white has to protect this next...
Right.
Cutting.
And oh yeah, that's right, because black goes here.
So
this
now,
closes off any potential, even though it looks pretty good. Now that white
still would prefer to have a little bit of room to run.
Yeah.
Now white has a problem with making eye space, so he needs a little bit more. So he goes this way, so he's not so cramped.
But now that white has played
and gets wide space, now black is cramped.
Black is cramped, so he needs to ensure 2 eyes.
Right.
And I think that's it. Yeah,
that was, and then after this, it stops being so local. It starts with extensions over here and stuff. So, anyway, if that makes sense, I think that's why we stopped it before we did. But you can see how it develops into a little battle there.
All right, on to the next one. All right. So the next one that everybody knows, if anybody knows anything about AlphaGo, they know that AlphaGo loves the 3-3 invasion early in the game. Pros hate this move. They don't understand, well, I'm not saying I do, but they don't understand why AlphaGo would play a move like this so early in the game. Right. But frequently, very frequently, AlphaGo Zero plays this on move 8 or 7 or 8. So
white
response is a little different.
So now, and we had a discussion about this. I think in this situation, the orthodox move would be to block on this. I mean, it's one of these: block here or block there. The orthodox move would be to block this way because it's facing the right direction where your stone is. I think you mentioned that. It seems like AlphaGo tends to go the other way.
Almost always goes the other way.
And I guess we'll sort of find out why that is as this develops. But for now, this is how we'll play it out. He blocks this way.
And I think just as a general, maybe a guess, I think AlphaGo realizes that this...
It's overconcentrated.
This is too far away from this stone to make any difference.
Maybe so.
And I think that it thinks it gets a better result when it plays that way. So obviously the move is here for black.
Otherwise he'll die.
Yep.
Now, again, the typical, the super common thing you see would be just to Hane at the head of 2 stones. Doing this, however, when you do this, it results in a sequence, right, that now gives black Sente. Okay. So, when you don't want to do that, when you want to keep Sente for some reason, you can do this. This is just as Sente, this is just as threatening to these stones as this is, but the resulting, it's light enough. I think what we figured out was we think it's flexible enough that it allows white to respond appropriately and at the same time gain a move on black at some point in the process so that white gets Sente coming out of it.
Yeah, that's our guess. Even if black tries anything here, like this or this, all of these moves end up being bad for black. But if black just plays out the regular Joseki, this turns into Sente for white more often than not. So therefore, this is the move that white prefers.
And I think you said that professionals knew that already. They knew that this is an option for white to keep Sente.
Yeah, not played very often though, for some reason. So black plays here.
Okay, so now to keep from getting separated, white goes ahead and just seals black in.
Right. Black plays here for obvious reasons, wanting to get out and make life, and also threatening to cut off this stone.
Right. Now white comes around this way.
And this one's
into the corner.
This one's interesting because it's basically saying, sure, you can cut here, but I will be able to settle this group in your corner with a lot of Aji left over.
Right.
And so this move it's doing that, but it's also offering a trade, and we'll see how that unfolds later. Black doesn't want white to get into the corner, and so we'll play here.
Great. Now, white will play here. This move, so an interesting move. He still hasn't fixed this cut, right? But if black were to not respond for some reason, he could threaten there, he could threaten there. So it clearly requires some sort of a local response.
Right. I think you mentioned
lest everything of black's dies.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned earlier that that moves like this on professional level play, basically black is saying, well, what are you going to do about your stone that's in trouble? And white has basically said, I don't care about that stone.
Right.
And so therefore the appropriate response is to not bluff, but actually take the move that you threatened.
Right, yeah. This move here threatened immediately to capture that stone. When white says, I don't care about it, then you follow up on your threat.
Right.
Don't make a threat and then walk away from it.
And also notice that it does protect, as we'll see in a couple moves, it does protect against the capture of these stones.
Right. So now, I believe it was this one here.
Obvious.
So now, put these in Atari, so now this is the move.
And so the only move left is to capture.
Right, which is also why that move works. You don't have to come and threaten to capture this stone because you've got an out here. Go ahead and play that one.
Fills for obvious reasons.
And then I think it's this. So this I think this move is also to get liberties in addition to being a forcing move.
Yeah, because are you talking about this move?
No, I'm talking about this one.
Oh, I see.
Right, to go ahead and take that Atari. It's a forcing move, but it also gets some liberties. Otherwise, black could just totally destroy it and cut right through it.
Yeah, and this is interesting. Instead of just trying to jump out and do something to basically make more ice space and get out of the corner for black, black makes a cutting move first, and this is very, very important because if black doesn't do this and does something like this first, white will fix that shape. And now white has captured this stone, and all of this is all connected and alive, and look how low black is. So black first needs to cut here.
And he gets that for free because if white doesn't respond, then this stone is fine, that'll die, that'll be alive, these'll die. It's fine, he gets it, so he's got to take it. And I think...
No, he actually does what
he does, yeah, that's right. So he just goes ahead and... And
then the
fixes.
Joseki ends with a black stone here. Doing what black wanted to do, which is get out of the corner.
Getting out as high as he can.
As high as he can. And at the same time, because this stone is here, threatening to capture these three white stones. Now, it's true that depending on the way the board looks, this might not be a good ladder for black. White might be able to capture this stone. But right now, it's not that big of a deal, and they're still Aji.
Well, and you remember we talked about which way it faces? Look at which way black is facing now.
Yeah.
So it's true, white is facing the right direction also, but black gets to face the way that he wants. So we were talking about sort of what's the rationale behind coming that way.
Yeah.
And by the way, this I think correct me if I'm wrong, but this looks like it's bigger than that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe. I don't know, but this is a little higher.
You got to count all these points.
Yeah. So I don't know, but anyway. All right. So that's it for that one.
That's Joseki 2. All right. The next AlphaGo Zero Joseki that we're going to look at is going to seem pretty familiar to most of you. It starts with a knight's approach on the third line.
Right. In response, AlphaGo Zero will pincer on this side. Now, AlphaGo Master never pincered.
I don't think it ever pincered. Even one of the games, I don't think it ever showed a pincer.
But AlphaGo Zero likes this pincer when he wants to attack, or so there's a 1 space, or he'll do the 3 space, both low pincers, if he's got support over here on this side.
There's a stone there.
Right. So, but in this case, he doesn't have a stone there, so pincers on this side.
And in this case, we already talked about how AlphaGo likes to attach here, but when the low pincer, when it's so close, black needs to jump into the 3/3.
Right, we saw that complicated fight develop, and this stone on this side probably wouldn't work for that. Okay, so we're going to go through some of the normal moves here. Separate these two, first of all. Make room.
Make room for eyes. Can't Hane, gotta extend. Nope.
Oh, yeah, gotta extend.
In this case, if white tries to Hane here, we'll cover this in a future video, but if white tries to Hane here when there's a stone here, black can descend first, and after that forcing move, excuse me, black can cut, and it turns out to be very nasty for white. So, white Hanes, and black, what's black?
Black comes this way to me. So threatens to link up.
Hane, that's okay.
Right.
Black extends.
Yeah. Threatens. So black threatens to link up. White continues to keep them separated and threatens to, capture this stone on the next move.
So black has to fill.
And now this cut's a real problem. So what the normal thing is that everybody does is what I just started to do that.
Right.
But AlphaGo,
you can see that it's
obvious. It's a cut. It's a cut
instinctual.
that you need to fix. But you can fix it this way, according to AlphaGo Master and AlphaGo Zero.
And pros knew about it too. They just almost never played it. They didn't play it very often. But AlphaGo, even since the olden days of AlphaGo Fanli,
the days of yesteryear.
Yes. AlphaGo likes this move, and then black will finish up with a 1 space jump, making sure that this group is alive. That's where the Joseki ends.
And you can tell that this protects this cut because if you make the cut, there's nothing really great for. I mean, what's black doing?
None of these moves work, so black has to do something like this,
and it's really
nowhere for black to go.
There's nowhere for black to go, so. It doesn't work out well for him to try anything. So, for that reason, this is kind of a non thing.
Yeah. Notice that in the normal, not normal, but in the more typical way, black has this forcing move, which leads to a Hane at the bottom. Actually, it's a Hane. No? White.
Oh, yeah.
And then black can go here, white fixes, and black can go here. Not necessarily in this board position, but later in the game, this sequence can become a threat to save this stone. With white's move here, that's no longer an option.
Right, it never happens.
All right, moving on. All right, here we go. This is a brand new AlphaGo exclusive Joseki that never before seen by human eyes, unless you've been following AlphaGo.
Only for AlphaGo premium members.
Premium members. Yes, there'll be a link below to donate.
Right.
It begins with an approach and then a tanuki.
And then, tanukis.
And something happens over here that we don't need to talk about. And then
black comes out with Sente.
And if black heads over here, this move is the one we're going to talk about. However, this move is totally valid. A double approach on the third line. You just got to use your judgment as to what you think is best. If black has something low on this side, then it's probably better to play this kind of move to get balance on the board.
Right.
If he doesn't.
Who was it that said your stones are supposed to go like waves? I think it was somebody, like Chochikun or somebody.
No, nobody ever said that.
I said it.
So we're going to talk about this one, though. If you don't have anything on the other side, you might want to play this. If you do, you might want to play this. But this is the one where the new Joseki comes from. So let's talk about that.
So, AlphaGo will just attach on the outside.
We're not going to have a lot to say about this because it's
Man,
so bizarre.
I don't know why. Well, okay, hold on. Except I will say that I think that like allowing yourself to get sealed in, like retreating or something like that is obviously bad. So something to try to keep yourself out and keep those two separated. I get that.
Yeah. Why this one?
Why this one as opposed to another one? I don't know.
Black will almost always
Keep them separated.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So white will go ahead and keep black separated as well.
And this is the first one we figured out where this is black's move, and we were wondering why this instead of something like this. Mm-hmm. And the reason is that once white is allowed to push through, he can separate this stone and is pretty much safe with an enormous amount of territory in the corner.
Right.
This push wasn't protected again.
Right. Now AlphaGo does this goofy looking Atari on the fourth line.
I mean, if you take the black stone, it's great for white.
I feel like this is the kind of move I made when I was like 17Q or something, and it always never worked out well for me.
Right. Well, then,
I'm no AlphaGo Zero though.
Well, who knows?
I think I know.
Start playing 17Q again. It's in vogue.
I guess.
After that Atari on the weird Atari on the fourth line, black will extend down, obviously, because if white gets a fourth line Panuki facing his own stone, it's fantastic for white. So black can't allow that to happen.
Right. Now I think it was the.
No, you don't predict that. You never
predict that stupid cut. Okay, so come down and keep them sealed in.
Right.
That's right. That's the deal. And
again, this could turn into a unfavorable ladder for black. So black doesn't want to just make a stick like this, because then white could do things like this and might lose some stones, but we'll get a big corner. Mm-hmm. So black plays the diagonal move.
Right. White. This is the one where he plays the. That's right. Okay, these moves are also strange.
Yeah, they are strange.
Okay, so I guess this is just continuing to seal him in. I guess if you think about it, if black gets that move, right, that's...
He's out and he's got the cutting points.
He's got cut, get out. So...
Eye space.
So
he stops black from getting enough eye space.
Prevents all those problems.
And this is something that AlphaGo's really good at. He's good at looking at Liberty battles, right? Obviously, he's a computer. So he realizes that this is just about as insecure as this. And so he feels free to make this kind of move. Black makes the most aggressive move possible. And this is good shape here, table shape. But it also is attempting to kill those two white stones.
Right, and now those types of moves we talked about are bigger threats. So now white makes this
goofy move,
empty triangle. Do you have anything to say about that move?
Well, yeah, it's obviously what it's doing is what AlphaGo ends up doing, is attacking these stones.
It's in the most direct way keeping these two things separated.
It's better than this move, because this move fills one of his own liberties.
Yeah, but I mean...
Sure, but I mean...
Yeah, because it's 2 and 2, and it's right.
Yeah, so this is the best move in the circumstance.
Probably so.
Black continues the pressure on white stones.
And continues getting...
More territory?
More secure for himself. White comes here. And this creates something interesting now, which is that now these two stones are dead, for sure. Because if white plays there, black it's connect and die. Right.
Actually, let's show them so if white goes there, black goes there, black goes there.
That's good. And I think even the other way, even if black were to connect there,
I think it still dies. It
still dies. It's not as efficient, but it runs out of liberty same way.
So
that kills these two, which means this is connected out now.
Yeah, I guess. Black plays this move in order to, I guess, just take more territory and
seals in, and it threatens that.
But that's the end. that's the end of the Joseki.
Yeah.
Because this is safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is dead. Even if black takes this move,
this still works.
Connect and die.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So like I said, so these 4 are alive.
Now the thing you might be thinking,
they're out anyway, right?
and the thing that we're all thinking is, what about this? We don't know.
I don't know.
It doesn't look great for white because that means that this will get to live. Mm-hmm. I think we typically see white playing here
to fix.
It doesn't protect against the cut, but
it kind of does if you capture these. It protects it. The cut's protected.
Maybe.
I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that's sort of its lack of addressing this cut is something that is befuddling.
Yes,
a little bit.
It's above us. However, if you want to adopt this Joseki, it probably is going to be a good Joseki to take. We would just say, from our standpoint, protect the cut.
Right. Or make sure your ladder works for white.
Right.